a second before I get to perfect before I get to the full content. So um, there we go. Help clients with automation, build apps for business productivity. These are all perfect, right where you want to be. Know what's possible, automate data collection, become a key user in the company for AI. Yep, right there. Research markets. Oh, you guys came for the right stuff. Awesome. I'll come back and read a couple more as we go forward. So now that we're officially recording, this is the good part. So what we have here is four subjects we're going to cover. And if you think about like what, it all starts with knowing the right business problems to solve. And so I do recommend that, out of anything you can do, there's a lot you can do. There's really three universals that no matter what company you're in, what role you're in, you can put yourself as a leader in the company. And this is like just fundamental because sometimes people have symptoms of problems. So they have a problem with something, but they really recognize the symptoms. And so what you're going to be doing in this scenario is targeting the top three problems that manifest as all types of symptoms across broken business processes. So it's really something where for most people, they might not even be able to trace it back to this. But by you solving it, people will over time see, oh, the root issues I was having are no longer occurring. Where did it come from? It was this that was solved. So very powerful stuff. And then this second part, I think is so critical. Remember, you're getting the AI to do things that you would do as a human. So the better you're able to do storytelling when it comes to data, we live in an information industry, society. Insight is king, and knowledge is power. And so that real core understanding means we all kind of have to be data storytellers, just a little bit. So I'm gonna teach some of those concepts today as well. And then when it comes to like actual vibe coding the solutions, the key is the inputs outputs. So we'll go into like what that looks like. And then I'm going to end with, if we have a little bit more time, we'll maybe do more than one example, but showing you how to process map. All of this will give you the ability to save hours and hours of prompting and going back and forth with AI. Because I guarantee you, most of the trouble of actual vibe coding apps comes from like these issues. It's not a clear data story, not solving the top problems, having issues with inputs or outputs, or lack of clarity in the processing. So again, I really, for purpose of today, I won't be showing like live in the product, in any kind of coding product, because like making sure like no matter how technical you are, it's fundamentals that win the war here. Very basic fundamentals, you will save hours. And people will be like, this person is a professional vibe coder. And it's really the understanding just basic concepts. So for those that don't know vibe coding and what it is and how it works, I think the biggest thing that we could take away is it is something that is a force multiplier. So even if you don't have a lot of knowledge in coding or anything, it will multiply your ability to do things and learn as you do. That is the most important concept of vibe coding. The difference here is instead of me doing something with a determined goal, like I want the AI to do this, and this, I'm generally saying I have a destination area and I let the AI take me in that direction. And that kind of like going with the tool and working together is really what you coming out of these courses are going to be good at. And so there's tricks, there's tips, there's an art to it, but there is definitely a science. And so that science is what we're going to be digging into here today. So, top data problems. What do you think is the top data problem? Go ahead and list it in the comments what you think while you're looking at it on the screen here. But I will say to you, out of all data problems you can solve at a company, these three are the most powerful. Like there's tons of things you can do, yes. But if you really boil them down, these are the fundamentals. So, for example, anything having to do with I spend a lot of my time, um, you know, going back because the data is not good, or after I have all my meetings, I spend all my hours like typing it up and putting it into the system. Oh, I got to go type my notes. Okay, yeah, I got a meeting note taker, but it doesn't quite take notes exactly. Sometimes it's wrong, so I gotta go back and read everything. Like so much of just the drudgery of work is data entry. But good data entry makes great work-life balance because most of the time when your job is frustrating, it's a little bit of data entry, but it's also the result of that poor data entry, meaning the data is not quality, stuff is not upkept. So then you have to do extra work. Or, at the root of this, data entry is like the entry door. I mean, it's in the word. So if you tackle that problem, a lot of ways you are universally making the company better. If you notice, I didn't say for marketing, I didn't say for sales, I didn't say for product. It's a universal. And that's the whole point here is you want to tackle universals. This is going to win you praise at your company and across your company because you're someone that's solving universal problems. So whether you're in product or you're in marketing, whatever team you're on, you'll have praise because you're solving problems that are universal across the company. So data entry is number one. Another one that's important is prioritization and prediction. This is like ground one for improving companies' performance. If you can help the company better prioritize, you notice I didn't say prioritize sales. I didn't say prioritize leads. I didn't say prioritize projects. It's universal. If you can enable a company to prioritize across all things and then create frameworks to better predict across all things, that's where you really move the needle on a company and ultimately make it better to work there. Like if you do these things right, the job becomes a breeze because you're no longer struggling with data entry and the lack of data quality as much. You're able to better prioritize what's important, predict when things go wrong, and then we'll talk about the last one, but just those alone are transformational for how jobs work. And so that's why I just can't employ you enough. We don't got to be great at everything. But if we're good at this, of finding the right problem and then tracing it to the symptoms, there's no company we can't rise in fast. I've seen people like join companies and be on tracks to promotions in their first 3 months. And even beyond that, I've seen folks who come into a company that was like struggling as a leader, and then in their first literally 90 days, they've totally turned the company in a whole new direction. Because the greatest part about these problems is they're actually very easy to make progress in. They're less of like huge missions, but more of a series of steps that make a huge mission. It's not um, complex, meaning it's hard, but it's just a good amount of steps. So it has a breadth of things to solve. So I'm going to walk you through some of that today with the fundamentals that are going to really help you do that. The last one is insight retrieval. This is like the opposite, or like the um, reciprocal of data entry. I have to enter the data, but no matter how well it's entered, if I can't retrieve it well, that's where a lot of problems arise. So being able to help create tools and processes that make it easier for people to get to stuff faster, you're always going to help the company. So again, I can't stress enough, knowing just this alone is like grade A will improve your career. Then after this, everything you do is the how behind this what. So you can go into the company and say, hey, here's what I can do to help us. I think a lot of my frustrations of like data clarity, this, that, they go back to data entry. Let's do a one-time data entry project where we go back and clean up our data. Yes, it won't be perfect forever, but like a couple one-time projects, like making sure the IDs are up to date or adding an additional label, like, product name or user type to all of our contacts, like that little thing. Now, again, people think like, data's hard, but you know how easy it is to just do a one-time update of a field that can change the whole process. So, for example, if you have a list of people, contacts, how many of those contacts do you have defined as different roles? There might be the leader who makes buying decision. There's the end user. There's the champion. If you don't have those things labeled, you can't send personalized messages or even, look at someone's risk based on their role. Like so much comes from that little thing. All you're doing is getting the company to add one column. One column, you just changed every way the business works. That's just one example. If I just add one column called user type, and then go to every team and say you can now use this user type field to then send personalized messages in marketing. Do targeted enablement in education. Like literally one column opens up tons of doors. So I spent a little bit more time here than last time. I wanted to make sure people took away this point that this is the most important thing, finding the right problem. Then come the fun parts. So being able to understand and like truly tell data stories is a non-negotiable skill. I think every person needs to have this under their belt. It's like why? Hey, what do I need this for? Well, we all work in the world that has data and information technology firmly integrated. Every one of us have a cell phone in our pocket. We have technology in front of us. We have emails. We're literally on a live computer call right now. So I would argue that no matter where you are in life, the ability to tell data stories is always going to be a benefit for you. And so I'm gonna give you the fundamentals and then the cheat codes. Let me know if anybody's heard of stuff like the STAR method when you're doing interviews. Let me know in the chat. Have you heard of something like that, or any kind of like frameworks for telling about your performance you had in your previous role, or like how you did success? Has anybody ever done those? Yeah, those are really good. Those things like help. For those that don't know, yeah, STAR. Um, it's a base framework for it's describing work or you did. So you would state like, what was the, situation that you were in? What was your task? Like think of it like you're telling a story to somebody in a way that lets them really understand what you saw, what happened, and then what was the result. And so it's really as simple as what was the situation? What was my task? you know, what was the actions that I took, and then what was the results. Now that to me is a great thing for people to learn. I'm not going to discount that. It's important to have those skill sets. Um, shout out to Ryan. Um, but I would also go further and say that that's just a start. Like we should all know that, but star by itself is really dry. Like if I just talk to you in star format, you'd think I was a robot. It's good for like quick, but it's not good in context to tell compelling narratives because you lose the chain. Because it's like boom, 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 stop, boom, 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 stop, boom, 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 stop. And that can work, but there's other cadences in communication, just like there's other time stamps in music. And so, what I would argue for you, the opportunity here is three new rules to add on. So, I'm gonna give three tips on top of what you've known. Again, the typical fundamentals that anything like Star Method does is help you know who is the hero, what's the tension, what's changed, and what's the impact. Like that's basics. Now you notice we're on a vibe coding call, but the reason why I'm saying you this is important because this is what you need to get the AI to understand. Who is the hero? So teaching it up front when you're kind of initially prompting it, hey, this is for I'm a product marketing manager who manages sales lead conversion. Let's just say that's what your job is. That's the hero. What's the tension? The problem is today it's hard for us to figure out which people to contact and when because we can't easily tell what tools they're using. What I need, and then what's changed? What I need you to do is take actions to improve this. What's the impact? It would need to, at the end, make sure everybody's able to drive a higher level of personalization by reaching out to their clients. So you see how, like, again, it doesn't seem like we're talking vibe coding, but we're really talking what's going to make you a better vibe coder. And that's the fundamentals. No, so the tips I'm going to give you are the things that are going to make you excellent at this. Because if you're excellent at these concepts, you can get the AI to bend to that will and deliver that for you. So how does this sound so far? I know you guys, I know it's going to be a little bit technical. It's also going to be a little removed from the code exactly, But let me know how you feel about it so far. Should we keep going? Do y'all feel like we wasting y'all time? You're like, you know what? I'm good. Let's go, team. Let's go. Okay. We're gonna keep rocking. So good. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I'm very thankful everyone's enjoying because I truly think, every one of you are gonna be like real unstoppable forces at your company. So let's go forward. So let's do one together. Let's do one. And then again, I'll take this back and go back here 1 second. So just so you can see this, I think someone asked a really good question in the chat. If I look at the way that we market and the way we communicate, the key is like no matter what role you're in, you're able to do these practices. So again, just taking that core concept I showed before, going back to those three problems, that's going to be what's important to you. So let's do one together. You just completed a rollout of a new initiative that increased the total employee retention by 35% from last quarter, saving over 300,000 in new hire acquisition costs. There we go. It's nice. That's a good one. It's a good thing, right? It sounds like we did some great stuff. But let's look at the tips and then let's bring it back to it. The things you want to do is you want to lead with real world analogies. So I'm going to give you that example. You want to draw strong contrasts, and then you want to use conversations or essentially conversions to really help you drive a better impact. So when I say that, it's kind of like going to sound like alien language, but watch what happens when we get to the end. So reading the current sentence, how would you say how well that's written? Is that a really good story to be told? Is it written well? Could it be written better? Let me know in the comments. How would you write that better? Lacks context, right? Who is the audience? It's not specific enough. Good one. What was even the initiative? Yeah, we saved over 300,000, but did we spend 700,000? We don't know. You know? It's dry. Yes. Keyword. Shout out to Ryan. It's dry. That was a good one. Exactly. Let's really break this down. What do you think is a more compelling project? I'm gonna show you two, and you tell me which one. And then for those who know how to edit and annotate, we're gonna do this together live on the screen. So you're gonna go to Zoom, and you'll see. You don't have to participate. You can just put it in the comments. But if you want to annotate, you can annotate on the screen. You'll see it in the options next to where it says layout. You'll see annotate, and then you can choose to like draw and you can like write something. So you can kind of put a little check mark. What I like is the emotes. So you can just add a little emote on the screen. You can do some things. So what we're going to do is we're going to try essentially to say which one do we think is more compelling. We're going to do this together. All right. Okay, let's do this. So I'm going to close that and then I'm going to go. Okay, so one of them is, we had an increase in points consumption over 40% in the last 2 months with the rollout of our new point card systems. The other one, our new arcade-based point system doubled the number of people who are now points power users, 243 in total. Which story is more compelling? You can put it in the comments or you can use the annotate. Okay, we're getting some numbers, getting some stuff in the back. No one's going with the 40% increase in points consumption. No one's feeling that one? It's the Excel. I think anytime someone sees Excel, they generally like, oh, I made the wrong choice today. I'm a data geek, so I'm all in on Excel. I love creating some powerful formulas in Excel and geeking out. But just in general, it's kind of clear. This one doesn't even have the data on the screen as much visually, but for some reason it just feels compelling. And that feel, if you notice, is coming from the science of the tactics we're deploying. So you see, I'm leading with real world analogies, and then I anchor with the numbers. Anybody who's gone to an arcade and they've ever gotten a car where you put points on it to go play the games at the arcade can relate to that concept. So when you show that visual, you anchor in people's minds to something they can relate to. And relatability is really like um, the core taste that you're allowing for people to experience when they consume your content and when they consume your ultimately your vibe coded tools that you're going to create. And so again, I'm telling you, this is not even that complex of stuff. All of us have real world analogies that we can relate things to. And so you get better at this over time. It's a little bit of a skill, but the ability for you to anchor things on real world analogies will do so much for you in telling a story. Thanks for everybody. That was really good. I'm gonna shout out to Matthias. I think a couple other people I saw you guys put your check marks on. Really good. And then in the comments, we had a ton of people that were there. So great points. Everyone was really good. Make it relatable. What does it mean to me? Shout out to Charles. One is better for business, two for the consumer. Yeah, there is some element of on the left could be useful after on the right. So my lead or what I drive with is the story. And that story is anchored in real world analogies. And then I can add additional numbers after the fact to give that value. So let's do another one together. This one here, which one is more compelling? Our process changes has improved the time to resolution by over 50% across 4 working departments. That's one. Then the next one we have. Now I'll clear up some of the previous stuff so everyone can go again. This one here. We eliminated the chaos in our ticket resolution by untangling the routes, saving over 20 hours spent per team per ticket resolved. Which one do y'all like better? Which one's more compelling? Let us know in the comments or feel free to annotate. Alex circled it, huh? Shout out to Alex. Archie got it right. Archie was there. They didn't have a choice. Yeah, Ryan. Can I get a somebody? Where's the ums? I can't believe no one drew a yet. There we go. Marina saving the day. It's a little more of a but it's there. That's the I know it's kind of hard to draw huh? There's some typing some ums. Wonk flows, floams. This is brilliant. So I appreciate everybody. I think there's a little bit more dissent we have here. I saw one check mark on the left side. That might be interesting. Maybe whoever put the check mark on the left, let their comments be known. I think somebody kind of maybe went a little wild with the white. I don't know if they're like saying they like that one. They're pointing an arrow. But if you were for the one on the left, let us know in the comments. The tip here is, or the giveaway is, you want to draw strong contrasts. The problem with the left, it might even be better at giving me specifics of what changes were made, but that detail doesn't ring the true story. The true story is our workflows were entangled and then I detangled them. That's the story. Anyone who's human can relate to maybe their shoes being tied, and they had to retie their shoes, or eating spaghetti and or having headphones and they get all wrapped up around each other. It's an ethereal experience we all can understand, and that's what's going to be great about this. Is like that skill for humans is just as important for AI. So when you're teaching or you're working with AI to create tools and work and create, process improvements, you're going to need to be able to communicate it in the same way. So on the right side, you see it turned from chaos into order. Whereas on the left side, I don't have any context of the past. I don't know exactly what was changed, but I see a new process flow there. So much of what you need to explain to somebody, you have to be in the room. Versus if I just gave you a deck and I showed you, you would know at bare minimum, okay, our processes were noisy and now they're more clean and streamlined. Versus on the left, I have to know, okay, what is that process doing? Okay, so I guess now we're doing this. So yeah, you get the core concept. And yeah, wonk flows are made up because we needed to just have a made up example. Um, but just think of the core thing here. None of you had to be technical to do this. None of you had to be data scientists or business analysts. This is just fundamental stuff that will help you be a better vibe coder. All right, I got one more for you before we get to the coding part. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna do a clearing. We got so many good stuff. Shout out to all the ums. We got some yes, check marks. We're gonna clear it all out real quick for to do the final one. All right. There we go. Get that cleaned up. Let's go. So which one is more compelling? The user resolution and ticket creation decreased over the last 6 months after the launch of our new resolution initiative. Or we hit our TTR metric goal and saved over 3,000 hours per week across teams, which would be the same time to walk from LA to New York 3 times per week. Which one? Ah, we got some dissension. Let's see. Put in the comments why you chose the one on the left. Oh, thank you, Spraya. Yeah. The cool thing is like what I found in my career, because I worked as a data scientist for most of my career. So I had work, job duty of servicing not just clients, but other internal partners. And that's when I found that these data things are universal. So whether you're in marketing or sales, whatever role, it's going to be, these are like things that will really help you be better at performing, even if you're not coding. But the coolest part is that ability to communicate and tell data stories is the ultimate superpower in vibe coding. Awesome, Matthias can apply to so many situations. You get it exactly. I only want to make you all so successful, and to be this experience where I just took a random course and then it was a whole new world after that. Like that is my goal. So I'm so glad you all are seeing that in real life here. But let's talk about these examples. You like the graphic on one, but you like the story of number two, right? Mm-hmm. Interesting points being made. The left is clearer to you. Some people, so you see the dissension. This one was done on purpose. This one was a curveball. What I wanted to do was show you that there is a true point, but the key here is that it's mixed. So using practical conversions is what makes a better impact. So you see me being able to say something like, it saved 3,000 hours. That's a big number. But when you put that in the context of how long that would be in real life, that's the amount of time it would take for you to walk across the entire United States from LA to New York City. That really sends waves to the company. But there's other tricks I put in there just so you're aware of. You don't know what the TTR metric is. It could be time to resolution. It can be time to record. It could be whatever. But I put that in there on purpose to show you that, sometimes the data, even the metric, is less important than the story. So you're saying that, yes, we improved the time to, let's just say the metric is time to resolution. But what we did was we saved hours of our team's time. And then I also, on this purpose, gave you a chart to show on the left side. So if you compare what we got on the left side, we are doing contrast, but we're doing data contrast. my main argument I wanted to show you here is that like data contrast are powerful, but they require a lot of context. Real world contrasts come with inherent context. So on the left, yes, I see there's a decrease, but I have to give you that in the context of what happened before the last 6 months. It could be a decrease the last 6 months, but it's still 50% higher than it's been the last 12 months. I don't have context. And then in those charts, they're useful in showing the down, but that down, even if it was good, doesn't tell the story of the impact on the business. So charts have value when they come after the story. You tell the story and then you leverage the chart for context. So in this scenario, on the right, I could make that core story be told of we say 3,000 hours, which is the equivalent of our team members walked from LA to New York City 3 times a week. And those hours saved really showed up in the resolution and ticket creation that we saw decrease over the last 6 months. You see how I can combine them? I can chain them in order. That's what this is all about. And so I really brought you something that you can, if you tie the question of like, okay, what does that have to do with vibe coding? It's these things that AI doesn't understand well. It's going to be your job to do this part. Help it tell a compelling story. Help it understand what's important, and then provide user experiences that follow that. So, how do you ensure that AI can solve the right problem? Is the biggest thing. And let me go and clear some of these off here. Appreciate everybody participating. We're growing with these sessions. This was our first interactive. So, hopefully, if you like them, let me know. Let us know in the chat if you want more interactives, and we'll bring more to these sessions. All right. I think we got a couple comments in the chat. Yeah, I saw that's a good point. Lizette called it. So she was talking about the one on the left, she likes it. The one on the right seems dumbed down, who doesn't speak the lingo. And that's exactly the point. You want to dumb it down so that the stories can transcend your department. And then from that, you want to anchor it with the additional detail, like the other charting, the other stuff. So anybody can understand and like take it in, even if they're not there. And then your team even can communicate it in a dumbed down way. Because what happens is like we develop our languages, our lingo as teams, and then we can't really talk to other people well. And then if you work that down from the leader down to like individual contributors, they end up having challenges communicating the stories of what's going on. So this is just a huge power boost for your not just your communication, your ability to work with AI, but your entire team's ability to communicate the work that they do. So it's really counterintuitive, but Lizette, I think I'm glad you brought up that point. All right. Let's do this. Let's walk them over. You want more interactivity? Okay, y'all want more interactiveness. Definitely, we'll bring you more. So, speaking of which, let's talk about it. This is the first part that, again, fundamentally, like in the beginning of the call, this here is like the number one thing that's going to help you. Like, if you just do this, your vibe coding projects will go way better. So, cheat codes, this is the director's tips. Get your notepads. The most important things are having clear input instructions. You need to tell it what data it's going to pull. Now, there's a lot under the hood here, but the point is whether you're solving a data entry problem, you're just solving a modeling, so whether it's prediction or prioritization problem, or you're doing insight retrieval, there's going to be some data that's feeding into it. And so again, I recommend when you're vibe coding, you never put your real company data in there. What you're going to do is whatever data you have, you'll download the first headers of that data and then make up some records for the first five and then ask AI to generate more records that are similar to those. So they have a dummy data. So you never want to put your raw real data in there, and you want to run these things locally on your machine. Because what vibe coding is about, and its best, is controlled environments. If you try to like pull data from a live integration or like syncing data back and forth to your CRM or whatever, like that's going to open up an order of magnitude for you. But what you can do is ask for the system to be built around a simple data file. So you do a download of whatever data you've got, download it as a simple Excel spreadsheet or a CSV, and then you can take that CSV and then use that to then make your fake data by just taking the headers. And so there's a way for you then to do your coding locally. This then gets you to a position to where you want to describe what each of those fields are, why they work, and what they need to be done, or what needs to be done to handle them. So giving clear instructions on just the inputs will save a lot of effort. And it will really put you in a position to where the AI will get less confused downstream. So you need to tell it some basic things. Here's the ID. Here's the date column. We have these measures we're going to see change over time. I want to link this data to this data source based on these IDs. You see how like I'm specifically telling them the details necessary that are fundamental. Anything in data, again, we talked about this on the last call. If you want to know a little bit deeper here, go. I recommend checking out the first business apps call we did. We talked about data source types, not more detail, but you don't need to know that all today. The main thing you need to know is when I'm working on vibe coding business tools, I'm going to focus in on making sure my inputs are really clear. And on the same thing on the outside, you want to make the outputs really clear. And this goes back to that data storytelling. What you want to do is make sure it knows what it needs to do, how it needs to be shared. So I need you in this example to help me solve my prediction problem. I want to be able to better predict which companies or which customers are happy or not. And the only way I can do that is if I can get better visibility into what they're doing and how well they're working. And things are good for them to do that mean they're going to be happy. And then some things they're not doing them I know are bad. So I need you to make that clear to me. You need to give me an overview of what of these fields or these data points are drivers of the outcome of them being happy or not. And happy is taken in the form of a promoter score that we got them on a survey. So you see, like I'm being very specific on what the output is that I wanted to do, and I'm kind of letting it fill in like the details around these two core asks. And so think of this as like your A and your C. What I'm gonna give you last is B, but A plus B plus C equals D. That's the core like base formula here. You start with A, you start with C, so you know those things, like what it's gonna give me and what goes into it. And then this next part is where you get better at defining the processes. But any questions just while we're here on how to define the inputs and outputs before we go to the final part, which is process mapping? Yep, boom. Great point. Like Tom, you eliminate so many um burdens because he said that your risk and compliance team is more apt to approve if you make it clear that you're not using corporate data when you're building. 100%. Like you want to leverage your own data governance practices. So if you already have ability to download stuff on your computer, you're leveraging that precedent to then do the vibe coding locally on your computer. So that then you're not asking for new permissions. You're not doing any kind of new data things. Hey, I already download my spreadsheets from my Google Drive, and then now I'm just able to do some processing locally. That's infinitely better than trying to do things like integrate directly or have some kind of data pull sync process. Just download the data, and then once you build a working product or working feature, you could go back to the company and say, hey, I think we have something that's really good as an MVP. It works. Can we productize this, or can we put this in the hands of the product team so they own it and they set up a secure integration? They review the security of it. We reverse engineer it. There's so much you can do. Yeah, so what I'm going to do as part of the follow-up is provide you all with some prompts um, that you'll be able to use for this. So again, you'll get that as part of the sharing. Paula's going to send a form that's again as part of the follow up after this, asking everybody what their interest is for the next course. What kind of course do you prefer? What subjects you want us to cover? Just it's going to be a good survey. And then once you take that survey, we'll give you the anyone who took the survey, you'll get the file here for this today's session. Again, we're just experimenting with formats. But again, the main thing we want to get from every one of you is just tell us what you want from us. And so we figure again, anytime we ask you to do something, we want to give you something. So for those that are listening today, you're on the call. If you take the survey that's going to be shared as a follow up to today's session with the recording, then we'll give you, as a follow up to that, access to the prompts document that has example prompts for everything I covered today. So great points. Last thing here, I know we only have a few more minutes. We're at the last 10-minute mark. So I do want to give you the time to come off mute and ask questions. We'll do that as like we normally do. But the main like piece that really is where most of the hard work is in the middle. It's in the B. So we talked A, inputs, we talked C, outputs. The process mapping is where most of the function breaks down. And so what you're going to be able to do, now I'm going to cover this in more sessions, so expect today just to be an intro level for this. And that is to be able to, in your sleep, visualize processes. I can say to you like a simple sentence, like a number word problem, and in your mind you can visualize how you would map that process. There's people that I've worked with in my career who were so good at this, they could just go from company to company to company solving the same problem and like truly changing their careers because they would get stocks after every company they went to. They would literally it would be Groundhog Day for them. They would solve the same problem, rise up in the ranks, and then move to the next company and solve the same problem. So they were almost like living in the same problem at different companies, and that got them to this understanding. But what I'm sharing with you now is like this understanding will help you be able to truly be a change maker at companies. Because sometimes the business processes are so like over time they've evolved, meaning like we used to do it this way, then we changed to this, now we do this. It's so legacy that being able to architect or even change processes, it just seems like a impossible task. And so that's where I'm going to show you the tool sets. So there's maybe 5 or 6 core tools you're going to always use when you're doing a process. You're going to either aggregate something, so like combine them to get a total number. You're going to label something. Those are all kind of the same thing. So you're adding additional data points. They call this, metadata. So it's data that's created on top of whatever data you have. Another one is you're either going to explore or transform. Think of it like, I'm going to search in this table for a title. For if I'm looking for all people named Jim that are my company, that are my customers, I can explore by doing a search for name is Jim. Transform essentially is turning something into a new format. So someone might be a marketing lead, and I need to transform them into my other tool where they're a sales deal. Like that or someone just closed a contract. I need to transfer them into my customer program to convert them from a prospect to a customer. So you see, like there's standard ones. I'm not going to cover every one of those, and I've only given you 6 here to kind of think of, but they're very straightforward. It makes a ton of sense. So collect is like exactly what it sounds like. I'm gonna pull from a data source. Move and stores where maybe I don't need to change the data. I just need to put it in a different spot and save it all together. Like these are the core things. And learn and optimize is where you might have a function that gives you something like health. So is it risky or non-risky? Is it successful, not successful? Like you're giving it some kind of label that has meaning, or you're suggesting a way to improve it. So these are like the fundamental forces that take you from inputs to outputs. So just giving you an example. Someone gives you in Zendesk, think of it like a ticketing tool. For those that don't know what Zendesk is, there's a tool where people have support issues, they submit a ticket. That ticket goes in, and then someone's able to look at that ticket and see who's the company, who's the user, when it was submitted, and whatever details are on it. So that's my source one that I want to collect. Then I want to move that data into a place to where it can combine with my Salesforce data. So you see, remember, you're vibe coding. You're telling the tool, the AI, to be able to do this. Hey, I have a list of support tickets from my company, and I need you to connect that with my sales data. And that sales data, I need you to take it, the details for that. So like the name of the person, what their industry is, all that other sales data about them, and the ticket data, and then explore those and transform that into a list of tickets by severity. Meaning, show me all my tickets for the companies that are spending the most with me. So give me a list of tickets by company by priority. Who has a ticket? That's in Zendesk. Priority, that's in Salesforce. And so only with those two together can I get that detail. So if you take it and go with it, again, no matter what tool you use or what process is, the process works the same, where you're using these different fundamentals pieces, and then you're giving that process to the AI to say, hey, you're going to take this tool, this detail, and then use that to generate this view. And like that is like the fundamental like power of what this process gives you. So just to show you, I'll give you an example of what one looks like. We have it here. I'm gonna share that so everyone can see this. Okay, then reshare. So here we go. So again, I put this process in, I did these steps, and then it looks something like this, where again, I'll take that detail and then I'll create a prompt that says, hey, I need you to create this tool, this system. I need it to be these formats, these structures, and like that detail then is what allows for the AI to then do the stuff we talked about before in the data storytelling. Who's the hero? All those things we talked about from today's session, it all kind of combines into that structure. And then the additional final piece here that kind of brings that all to life is the ability for the system to then read all of that and then say, okay, what inputs and outputs? So you share that with it. And then from those inputs and outputs, you end up with something like this. Step one, do this thing. Step two, do this. Step three, do that. And so it's able to take that same format you showed. Step one, I need you to aggregate the data and merge it. Step two, I need you to collect this data source. Step three, I need you to combine and transform. So you see how input, output, and process is what lets you create better prompts and better context for the AI to perform. So, hey, we're right at time. I know we covered a lot of ground. We got 2 minutes. As we usually do, I'll stick around for another 20 minutes or so to maybe answer questions if people come off mute. But these are the skill sets that we, again, as vibe coders, need to be able to understand and leverage to get the biggest impact in building business apps. All righty. Appreciate everybody. Let's go ahead and open up the floor for questions in the comments. And before we go to comments, while we have a break, I'll let people load in some questions and then I'll read those questions. So type in your questions. I'm going to update everybody. Vibe methods just dropped. These sessions we're doing today won't go on forever. I think we only have a couple more to end out this month. But after that, we'll be having tons more new courses coming. And in between, there's a great opportunity for you to join in. We have this real core time right now that we're in. The news is breaking every week, and every week there's technologies, techniques, tools that are compelling. And what I want to put in front of you is we have the opportunity to provide you with a course experience that will let you every week when the news breaks of a new technology or a new detail, we'll have a course that covers that news and then gives you tools and tactics just like we do on these sessions. So I'm pumped. I'm super excited for this offering. This is a paid course, so it will cost $10 per week. So again, for the price of a coffee, every week we'll be breaking down the news. You can jump in and get practical tools, access to markdown files, documents, additional projects. Last time we gave away a free tool, a free platform, free LLM for everyone to be able to use. We'll be doing that as well. So I'll pause there for everybody. Last video, we'll play it out for those that want to leave. I know it's kind of timing, right at time, and then I'll stick around for extra credit after the video for anybody that has questions. So let's play it.
The future of AI art is not being one built intelligence.
There we go. Oh, I think people can see it. There you go. You can see now.
The future of AI artists not be the ones built artificial intelligence.
Paola for the win. Shout out to the team. Thanks everybody for joining. Now we'll let people come off mute and answer questions. Again, I totally appreciate that. Every day we have so much going on. So you decide to give me an hour. That's phenomenal. I'm not going to take any more, but I'm going to pay it even further forward. If there's anybody who has any questions or anything you want to ask right now, I'll give you that time today. We'll wrap up maybe in the next 20 minutes. So if not, we'll leave a little early, but Paola, if you can turn off the mics, maybe everyone can, if anyone has a question, want to come off mute, open up the floor.
The
All right, I think a couple questions here, a couple points people have made before. Okay, some people were saying they can't come off mute. All right, there we go. I can see the questions now. Sorry about that. Oh, wow. I mean, mostly good comments. I appreciate you. Thank you to everybody. Um, yeah, shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Alex. I appreciate you, man. The quotes are just like phenomenal. I'm so grateful everyone's enjoying the style and the format. So, no, a lot of questions, just a bunch of praise. I mean, I thank you, everybody. I thought I was going to get. Okay, here's one question. People are saying they're still unable to unmute, Paul, if you're still there. That's why people are still struggling to get off. But see if we can get that fixed while it's going. Ryan says, how do you subscribe to Vibe Method? So again, right now, Vibe Method is officially like official release is at the end of the month. But right now, we've been giving people who are who join on now, you're getting the sneak peek. So we have to send you a specific subscribe link where you actually subscribe directly. So I'll have Paola include that as well in the follow-up for those that are interested. Again, remember, we haven't surfaced this yet. This is like you guys are getting the sneak peek. And then when we actually launch at the end of the month, it's supposed to have a couple weeks already live, but you'll be able to get access directly. And then, when you come to these vibe sessions, we can talk about it. So for everyone that's interested, we'll just send it to this whole crew. For everyone that attended this call and last session, we will provide that subscribe link for everybody, just so you'll have it if you're interested. All right, I think people are off mute.
And thank you so much, Sam. This is Lizette. I have a question for you. Is the Vibe methods the same as the Gen AI Academy that you were giving us like a free couple of weeks to use?
So yes, it's in the same platform. So
Okay.
it's a tab in there. So but what the difference is, it's every week it comes with an 8 minute or so long video, and then it has all the tools and assets available for you to download, and it has buttons that you can click that automatically open these prompts in Chat GPT. So it just makes it so it's really easy for you to put to practice what you learn.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was getting really confused about the one and the two. So thank you for the
Oh yeah.
clarification. And I would love to also subscribe. So yeah, thank you so
Amazing. What an
much.
honor. Thank you, Lizette.
Yeah,
Where you
no,
calling
you're
from?
amazing. You're like teaching us so much and the possibilities are endless and I'm super excited about it. So thank you so much.
What a pleasure. Last thing, where you calling from?
I'm Boulder. I'm Boulder. Go
Boulder.
West.
Shout out
Yeah.
to Boulder.
Yeah.
Go Buffs.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. So anybody who wants to see, this is what vibe methods will look like. I'll just switch screens here. Let me switch. So you see I'm inside the academy. It's not going to be a tab you can see because again, it's hidden till the end of the month. So you guys are getting that sneak peek view. And so once you get to this page, you can't get, once you leave this page, you can't get back to it. That's on purpose. We don't want people to really see this yet. It's really an insider thing. But what you'll get is there'll be a video for that week. So just so you kind of see something like this kind of video, and every video is going to be crazy.
Every week, a new AI
Like I'm
breakthrough.
not playing with the limitations of a live call. So I'm going to be putting all the techniques. Like there's going to be like vibe coded video. It's going to be 3D. It's going to be some like we're going to really show what's possible in the ways that we teach and educate. So phenomenal setup in the video, and then you'll have all the resources and assets right there. So like instead of you having to go like take my prompt and then go use it, you can literally click one button and say you want to use the prompt for like how I'm able to get the AI news. I click this one button and it'll go right into ChatGPT with the prompt already written for you, ready to go. So there's tons of tools like that. You have access to additional resources. You'll be able to download, libraries of prompts we've made. So much of the stuff that like I can't pack into this live, I'll be giving away for, to you through this experience. 5 methods. Other questions, final floor. I know we're ticking around, everybody. We have about 36 people. Wow. I didn't know this many people were still around. Appreciate every one of you. Any questions I can answer? Otherwise, maybe anybody want to say something before we wrap up?
Do you ever do one-on-ones? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, we
Like
do have
training
that. So
one-on-one? Okay.
yeah, definitely. There's gonna be a ton of that. So what I'm trying to do is actually scale it up. What I want to do is be able to serve anyone who wants to have a partner on their journey. So part of that is we haven't took the format yet, but imagine when you sign up for our account, you can chat with us directly and then we can book, you can book on our calendar times to talk. So you can have the way of like, if I go to Coursera or like Udemy, I'm just alone taking a random course. And so like
Mm-hmm.
that experience is good, not judging anybody, but like what people I think really want right now is the ability to do it together and then even talk to somebody. So that's important to us. So expect more to come from us around that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great question. Happy birthday. Shout out to Paola. Thank you. Wow. Yeah, it is my birthday, y'all. So, I decided to spend my birthday with y'all. And the missus got me a cake and I got my little one. He's, 3. So we're about to have a good day of love and energy and vibes. So I just want to send that to you. Thank you for helping make my birthday by showing up and showing out. I mean, I'm just like kind of surreal. I have a feeling because I get messages from you talking about how I've improved your lives and like some people have gotten new jobs from this stuff. So like for me, I'm just taking it all in and like I'm pouring back into this community with everything I got because I really see that we are changing our lives together. So thank you for making my birthday. Thank you for making my life memorable in every little way just by taking a Zoom call. We got so much that goes on in this world, so much craziness, chaos, negativity, noise. But if we break all that noise down there's some greatness for us to experience in human history. And so that's where my mind state is. I'm thankful to every one of you, and just want to say again, thanks for everybody joining today. And let's go to space together, huh? Also, hold on, Sprite, you got a question. You said, please answer my question. What's your question? If you come off mute, I'll answer it directly.
Yeah, I asked about first of all, thank you and happy birthday. Sorry. I asked about SQL and like understanding the basics of Python because I'm actually a student right now, so I have some time to do some data courses, even though this is not really my domain. And I wanted to know how much it would help me with even like vibe design or vibe coding, because I did start learning SQL and I want to know how much value these kinds of courses will have going forward, I guess.
Yes, tons of value. I say it with that reverence because everyone's saying that coding is dying, right? People are saying like, with all these technologies, you won't need to learn how to code anymore. Somebody was saying, I think some CEOs, 90% of code is going to be written by AI, that kind of stuff. But I do think the fundamentals of how databases work, so SQL, and the fundamentals of how coding languages like Python work are going to be extremely helpful to you. For our scope, though, just keep in mind, we're focused on web apps. So we're trying to avoid some of the complexities of Python, etc., because of the challenges of like knowledge there. But if you're looking to get like true ability to leverage what's possible, those types of courses and those type of content are going to be very powerful for you. So, for example, next week, no, the week after next, I'm going to Oracle World in Las Vegas, and I'll be covering it on site. And Oracle's going to be announcing their new products. Like Oracle's the one behind; they make MySQL. They're the ones that own and manage Linux. So, like most of like open source that's powering under the hood these coding languages and architectures, they're all like have taken a moment to see what's going on, and now they're about to release their next versions. So like now is actually one of the best times to learn things like MySQL, Linux servers, things like Python. Now is a really good time to get introduced. Again, remember, I didn't say you had to be proficient or you had to be great, but to be introduced to these concepts because they'll help you going downstream.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great question. Thanks for asking. The good news also is just for those that haven't seen, we are adding our courses. So you'll see that some of our courses from the past that we had in our older our older LMS have been added over. There's going to be one of them called Intro to Coding. It is a Python coding course. Since it's pre-recorded, you don't have to wait. So if you just go to our Academy page, you'll be able to see it. That one I think drops by Monday, so it'll be up early next week. But you can actually go back and watch the recordings, and it'll teach you coding. In that one, they go over how Python works and like how to do basic Python development. So again, the short is, to your points, right? You are right on that we're going to come in as beginners, but by the end of it, we're all going to have tons of different skill sets and be able to go deeper as we all learn together. Great stuff. Charles makes a good thing. I'm always tripped up by the use cases. Can we have maybe a sidebar with a tool and a few scenarios we can use the tool? Problem through solution? Yeah. Let's do that. Hey, happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you. I think, Charles, you're right on. I'm in our team leadership meetings having discussions about how do we make it more interactive? How do we do more stuff like that? So expect more to come. Vibe Methods is exactly that, though. It is meant to be the practical one. So at the end of Vibe Methods, you'll be given a practical task, and all those links I was giving you that were on that page, those are the tools that then you use in the actual session. So if you just pull it up here, you'll see these at the end of the course. I'm giving you some tasks to do, and then you get those ability to put it to practice and actually do it together. So Vibe Methods is meant to be that practical experience together. But also, I see just so many happy birthdays. Um, you know, Phenomenal stuff, great questions today, everybody. Thank you. See everybody soon. Methods. That's a new